Hello, I'm your host, Giselle Gamby, and this is the Intuitive Pull podcast. First of all, I want to say thank you to the community of listeners because there have been breathtaking ripples that have occurred from listening to this podcast, and I'm excited to be witness of many, many more. This year, I'm dedicating this podcast to the theme of 2023 being a breakthrough year. No matter how successful, fulfilled, and happy we are, and the truth is that sometimes we're not, we all have thresholds we've placed on ourselves on how loving and powerful we've allowed ourselves to be. Following the intuitive pull does not negate our vulnerabilities and our humanness. Oftentimes, following the intuitive pull asks us to see our blind spots and to bring what has been in the shadow to light. And when we do, we can see that being fully human is in fact the precursor to remembering that we are infinitely greater than this mortal body, that we are infinitely connected beyond this time and space, not in spite of our humanity, but because of the intricate weaving of all aspects of our precious humanity. When we take responsibility and remember that you have the power to decide what you choose, and we fuse that with a letting go of control and surrendering into the plans that you didn't make, there is nothing that you cannot transform. My wish is that you see that the deeper you go, the greater your wealth in all ways, and that authenticity is always profitable. Have fun! Hello, Intuitive Pull listeners. This is an episode that I had no expectation to record today, but it is really obvious now for me to record. The episode is actually a replication, if you like, of a process I'm about to take people on tonight. I will be having a group call with the 17 sacred leaders from the Sacred Leadership yearlong program tonight. And I knew that this group call wasn't going to be a typical group call. I knew it was going to be something different. And so I've been listening in, and this is what has popped out the other end. And as I gathered my thoughts today and gathered the flow of the process I want to take the sacred leaders on tonight, I was pulled to actually share it with you because it's quite powerful, if I may say so myself. So how is this going to benefit you? Well, if you're aware of what matters most to you, and you are choosing to realize in your life what matters the most to you, well, this episode and this process I'm about to take you on will be very worthwhile. So there's a point I want to make, and that is that it was actually something that I realized as I was writing out the process today. You see, for me, when I choose to realize what matters the most to me, it's like second skin for me to follow the intuitive pull in order to realize what matters the most to me. Like, I don't even have to think, oh, that's right. In order to realize what matters the most to me, I need to follow the intuitive pull. I don't even have that thought process. It's literally like breathing air for me that I go, my whole system is attuned to listening into what I'm being pulled or how I'm being pulled to realize that thing that I'm going for. So I felt that it was important for me to not assume that that's how everybody operates, and for me to say on this episode that this process, of course, engages the name of this podcast, Following the Intuitive Pull, as the primary way to realize what matters the most to you. As I am about to begin sharing this process, I'd like you to just take a moment and feel into, 1, 2, or 3 things that really matter the most to you. And even press pause on this podcast episode if you just need a moment to get present with what matters the most to you. Ben, if you're listening, I've got something in mind that I know that matters a lot to you, and you've talked about how that is still getting off the ground, and this process would be perfect for you. So a couple of weeks ago, I was on a group call with my coach talking about something that matters the most to me. And I said to him, it's probable. It's not possible, but it's probable that this will happen. And then I said, it's not inevitable that this will happen. It's probable that this will happen. And that word probable kind of piqued my interest, caught my attention. And I went for a walk not long after that week. And I was considering, why was it that I used the word probable? Because I have actually not used that word before in the context of realizing my callings and my intentions. So as I was walking, I was just playing in my mind, and I realized that there are 3 creative stages in the context of following the intuitive pull when we're going for what matters the most to us. The 3 creative stages are possibility, probability, and inevitability. So let's start with possibility. So possibility is when we are receiving the intuitive pull. We're getting that feeling. We're getting that direction. We're feeling moved. We're receiving the intuitive pull. Let me give you an example, and I will give examples for each of these creative stages. So if you listen to my last episode entitled Adventures of Following the Intuitive Pull, you will recognize this story already. If not, I'm about to share it with you. I'm going to summarize it though. A couple of weeks ago, I had a beautiful woman, Annie, who said to me, Giselle, you should write an ebook or a workbook. The reason why she was saying that to me is because you don't have to go through the publishing process. You can actually publish an ebook or a workbook on Audible and Kindle. I didn't know that that was possible. When I heard that I could actually publish something on Kindle and Audible, it lit a fire within me. An intuitive pull was sparked. I followed this intuitive pull, and then putting a couple of breadcrumbs that had been falling together or showing themselves together, I had this idea of, wouldn't it be fun to gather all that I've written and to transcribe all that I've podcasted, nearly 100 episodes, and to collate those writings and those episodes into subject matters like authenticity, following the intuitive pull, aligning with the universal mind, faith and grace, personal responsibility, etc., etc. Wouldn't it be fun to collate those writings and transcribed episodes into subject matters and then to run them through an AI program and see how this AI program collates and puts it all together? Again, so much fire, so much excitement, so much enlivenment was within me. If you listen to that Adventures of the Intuitive Pull, you'll really get my vibe, like really, really enthused. So this really mattered to me. And so in the phase of possibility, this could happen where I would go and collate and use the services of AI and then run my own personal story throughout the writing and weaving my human story, the human aspect of my soul growing into itself, weaving that through the words. That could happen, or it might not happen. It was a possibility. So as I was with this intuitive pull, my heart said to me, go to Queensland, go and be by the ocean, go for walks in the morning, have a whole week to yourself dedicated to this project. So my mum has a holiday apartment in Coolangatta that we go to every January. And I called them to see if mum's apartment, totally thinking that it would be available, called them to see if it would be available over a certain week. And alas, it was not. So then I asked myself, well, maybe, is this meant to happen now? Maybe it's not meant to happen now. Maybe I have to do a whole lot of pre-work and back work before collating it. And then I caught myself and it was like, no, don't let the circumstance of my mum's apartment not being available have me not follow through on this intuitive pull. No. Then my sister-in-law, who came for dinner on Saturday night, said, why don't you go to our holiday place in Katoomba? You can have the house to yourself. You won't be interrupted. You can put the fire on. And I was still in that this might happen or this might not happen mindset until Sunday when I said, my heart really wants to do this and my heart really wants to be in warmer weather. My heart wants to be by the ocean. My heart wants to go for walks in the morning. My heart wants to be with the beautiful Troy and Beck who live there and see Susie as well. And so I booked an apartment in Kira. I did not compromise. Are you noticing that? I did not compromise. I went for what mattered the most to me. And I went for what my heart wanted without compromise. That moved me from the possibility of following the intuitive pull to inevitably following the intuitive pull. I will be going to Queensland. I will be going to that apartment. I will be spending 6 days collating and running through and weaving my story. And I don't know how much I'll get done. I don't even know what's going to come out the other end, which is kind of exciting. But the process that I'm embarking on is inevitable. So that's the stage of possibility. The next stage is the stage of probability. And this is where we have followed the intuitive pull. It's no longer a yes or a no. We're following it. And we have momentum. We have momentum in following the intuitive pull. So let me give you an example. I have a huge pull, undeniable, unequivocal, uncompromising intuitive pull to grow the community that already exists so that more and more and more people remember and are connected to their own sacred power. It is an undeniable pull that I'm having. And I have momentum here. I have a podcast. I have close to 100 episodes. I have a beautiful community of listeners in the Intuitive Pull podcast that really value these episodes, that tell me what has occurred because of them, that have created so many ripples. I have a 9-week meditation program that I commenced, series 1, over January to March, and that has created so much for the people that participated and also for myself. In fact, it created the Sacred Leadership program that I'll be facilitating tonight. I had no idea, it was not even a concept on the 1st of January that I would be running a program for graduates called Sacred Leadership. I have momentum around writing. I have returned to my love of writing. I've chosen a new platform where I blog from, Substack, which is a beautiful way of creating more connection and allowing the library of all of my writings to sit in one place where people can see, rather than through the normal blogging platform where you receive an email and then once that email's gone, the writing's gone. I have an idea to rebrand my coaching group, the Catalysts, to what is more present to me right now, which is the remembering and the connecting to and the living and leading from sacred power. So there is momentum. Will the community grow in a way that is significant? It's probable that it will. because of the momentum that I'm in. But is it inevitable? No. So I'm currently in the process of affirming to myself that this really matters the most to me. And I'm currently in the process of asking myself what is in my heart for me to say yes to without compromise. And I will continue to ask myself that question, what is in my heart for me to say yes to without compromise, many times, every day in my meditations. And every day I will receive another piece, whether it's a whole new piece, whether it's a nuanced piece, whether it's an action for me to take, whether it's for me to have a paradigm shifting, game-changing perspective that I've not lived from or applied my life to. It's all of that. It's all of that. As I continue to receive and allow and say yes to what my heart really wants me to say yes to without compromise, it will absolutely move into inevitability. That I know for sure. And the more I align with the universal mind, the more my heart is enlivened, the more my heart has a voice, the more my heart is heard. The third stage of the creative process around following the intuitive pull around what matters the most to us is the stage of inevitability. And here we're in the flow. We are well in the flow. We're running with the river. The river is flowing. We're in it. There's no going back. We're in the flow. So the example that I can give you here is the pull that I had in Kenya in November 2022. That was one of those really directive and commanding intuitive pulls to show people that aligning with the universal mind is the most powerful strategy I know to realizing what matters most to us. And so in January to March, I offered a 9-week meditation program so that I was doing my part to support people to have the experience of aligning with the universal mind, and then to have the experience of the power of that and what actually happens when we follow what we have received by aligning with the universal mind, by surrendering to the universal mind. And that was awesome. And then more recently, I received the intuitive pull to run series 2 of the 9-week meditation program, but this time to offer it as a gift, because I want more and more and more people, you've heard this before, to align with the universal mind. And if I offer it as a gift, that might be a way that happens. That's not actually true. I just used the word might. It might be a way. No, it will be a way. The 9-week meditation program that will start on the 7th of August is inevitably going to happen. There are around 70 people that are on the program so far that have registered. My vision is to have 100 or more people on this program. It is inevitable that this program will be facilitated. It is inevitable that more than 18 people that attended Series 1 over January to March will be with me. It is inevitable, if people take responsibility to do their part, that they will align with the universal mind and they will experience the power of aligning with the universal mind. It is inevitable. This really matters the most to me. I said yes to what was in my heart, what I received intuitively. That sat very well in my heart to offer this as a gift. And I have also I have a beautiful friend that I've met through the podcast called River Ann, who I had a phone call with this morning, who lives in the States. And she used the expression, the art of allowing. And when she said that, I really felt that. Like I really felt that. And I'm experiencing the art of allowing. The community that currently is to bring their friends and their family and their colleagues to this program. I am receiving referrals. I am connecting with beautiful new people who are saying, I'm in for the next 9-week meditation program. My beautiful friend Jane referred me. It's very special. It's very, very special. We are very much in the flow of the 9-week meditation program starting the 7th of August. If you're listening to this and you're pulled to join us, the details of how to register are in the show notes. Simply, you just need to send me an email, subscribe to my Substack blog, and make sure that you're a friend of mine on Facebook, because we'll be using a closed Facebook group to facilitate this 9-week meditation program. All the meditations will be uploaded there, and also the group call details and recordings will also be there. So make sure to go to the show notes once you've listened to this episode and send me that email. Now that I've demonstrated the 3 stages of the creative process in following the intuitive pull around what matters the most to you, and you have identified those 2 or 3 things that really matter the most to you, that you would love to create momentum on, whether that mean that you move from possibility to probability, whether you move from possibility directly to inevitability, or from probability to inevitability. There's no forcing here. There's no pushing here. If you are moving from possibility to probability, that is perfect. Absolutely perfect. There's no pushing here. So now that you have those 2 to 3 things that really matter the most to you, you know where you sit on this model, I'd like you to feel into, what does your heart want without compromise to take this thing that matters the most to you to the next level, or to it being inevitable. There are many meditations on this podcast that you can go and be with. It doesn't matter what the title is. It doesn't matter what the theme is. Just go in with the intention of receiving what your heart really would love without compromise. It will for sure call you into a state of being that's in alignment with what matters the most to you. And it will also call you into a state of action in alignment with what matters the most to you. Your intuition will speak to you here. Why? Because I'm reminding you that this process is around following the intuitive pull around what matters the most to you, so that that is inevitably realized. I trust this episode has been supportive for you. Please let me know. Send me a message, send me an email. And in fact, I'm just remembering, you can use the Sacred Power meditation that a lot of people have been using recently, including myself. It is already on this podcast episode. I will create a link to that again. You may even wish to go and listen to the previous episode, Adventures of Following the Intuitive Pull. It may, the energy of that, there's just so much enthusiasm in that episode. It may ignite something in you. And I'm really holding space for magic to happen for you. I'm really holding space for magic to happen to you. Ben, I'm talking to you. And to all of you who are listening, much love. Ciao, ciao. Hey guys, if you love this podcast, I have 2 requests. Number 1, sign up to the newsletter, which you can find in the show notes. Sharing is one of my superpowers, and there is only so much that I can share through the medium of podcasting. And I have very big plans this year to be radically generous to you. So sign up to that newsletter where you'll be able to receive a whole lot more that I trust will be super valuable to you. And number 2, I'm a massive referrer of the people I love to the people I love. Please share this episode or podcast with the people you love, and let's create some more breathtaking ripples of impact.